Welcome to Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. Here's your host, Stacy Jones.
Welcome to Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I'm Stacy Jones, and I'm so happy to be here with you all today. And I want to give a very warm welcome to Phillip Akhza. Phil is the founder and CEO of Akhza, which helps businesses be able to ship products in branded and unbranded sustainable packaging. With 16 years of experience in packaging and supply chain logistics, Phil and his team have helped over 2,000 clients in 950 cities worldwide upgrade their unboxing experiences and wow their customers. With a degree in industrial engineering and as a graduate of both Y Combinator and 500 startups, Phil has brought his core competency of packaging to the biggest companies of businesses just getting their start. Today, Phil and I are going to be chatting about how B2B organizations can better brand themselves and what the typical challenges to overcome are. We're going to learn what works from Phil's perspective, what should be avoided, and how some businesses just miss the mark. Phil, welcome. So happy to have you here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Stacy.
Well, what I'd love to do always is start off with, how did you get here today? I bet you never thought when you were in college that you were going to be creating box masterpieces for companies around the world.
Totally. True. Very true. Yeah, no, during college and right after college, started in the corporate world, worked at Boeing. Packaging was a bit of a bottleneck as an IE at the company, but I didn't think much of it. I just thought, okay, I work at a huge company. Everything's going to move slowly. Fast forward, I worked for a smaller Y Combinator backed startup company called iCracked. They did iOS buyback and repair. So someone would show up to a Starbucks and fix your iPhone, and dealt with packaging there as well. And I had no red tape there. Like the founder still is one of my best friends. We went to college together, so I could do whatever I wanted to speed things up. But it just so happened that the industry itself is still super old school, because our biggest competitor is still this guy.
Uline. I bet it's Uline. Yep. As I'm starting to see you pick up and it's blurring in the background coming in, Uline it's a go-to for our agency too. When we've looked at things, we've looked there until we found you.
Yep. Awesome. Appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's just an old school industry, fairly common for folks to just like flip through a catalog, pick up the phone, order more boxes. Whereas with us, we have an online platform where you can just design your package, brand it with a logo, and check out fairly simply. You can do as few as like one box. It's talking to other entrepreneurs. As a part of our job, it's talking to other entrepreneurs, and that's honestly what makes it fun versus just 70% of the orders that come through are a box. So it's boxes after boxes after boxes. With people's branding and design, that's when things get interesting. Talking to the CEOs, founders, marketers, ops people, things get even more interesting there, because we're talking to other business owners. Like as a B2B platform, it's rare, like 1 in 1,000 would be someone buying, let's say, 5 boxes for like Christmas gifts for their family. It's mostly people who look at Shopify, selling products online, a direct to consumer business, someone moving from retail to omni-channel presence and wanting to do an e-com presence. They come to us, and that's where we can help them out.
And so when people come to you and they say, I need boxes, are they usually, you said 5, are they looking for 5? Or are they looking for 50,000?
Great question. Honestly, it's our average order value is like someone will come to us and they'll spend either a few $100s or a few $1,000s in packaging. When they want to buy the bigger volumes, they get the white glove treatment from us. Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, like, over 90% of e-com does less than 5 million a year in bookings. 70% of e-com does less than 1 million a year in bookings. So mostly it's SMBs, small, medium sized businesses that come to work with us, and they'll be able to just check out through the site. They don't even need to message us and say, I need boxes, but we sure will guide them through the process. We try to make it as easy as possible, so the website's self-checkout the same way you would buy something off Amazon.
And for all of our listeners, so Phil and I contacted each other actually a couple of years ago when we first started talking. And I remembered, Phil, when we had a need for an influencer marketing program where we needed to send out to about 90 different influencers a product from one of our clients. And we could have done it just in a general box, right? And that's like the go-to. But with influencers, when you're working with them, every moment counts. And if you can actually get something that's branded and into their hands, it ends up on camera most of the time because it's part of their unboxing. It's part of their experience. It's part of something that is fun. And so our team is able to put together some different graphics. They worked with Bill's team, and really in a remarkably short period of time of less than a week, we actually had those 90 boxes in print and being created and sent out to us. And I will say that our team, before I remembered that I'd had a conversation with Bill a couple of years ago, our team had done a lot of research and had a lot of conversations. And most of the boxing companies out there seem to outsource. So they'll actually, and I could be wrong, and Phil can correct me, but most of them seem to help you with the design, help you with the purchase, but then someone else actually prints and makes those boxes, and there's weeks delays that get added on. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And even the funny thing is, due to a lack of technological capability, most suppliers, even if you did go direct, are still going to take weeks, because depending on what you want, and in your case, 90 boxes, good luck. Like they're dealing with one lighthouse account per location. For example, we used to send packaging to a supplier partner who had Cliff Bar as a client. And that's really all they cared about. Like everything else was secondary. So if you said, I need these boxes ASAP, you pay for them. Here's my drop dead ETA that I need these by. They agree to it. Everything seems fine. But if Cliff Bar comes in and says, I have an emergency, you are immediately deprioritized. Whereas there's no real deprioritization or off balance queuing system that we do here. It's just first come, first served. You place your order, it goes into the queue, it gets batched, it gets sent off for production, and then you'll get it, like you had mentioned with your experience, a week later. Depending on when this gets released, I want to emphasize that today is October 17th, and we have Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up. So even if it seems like it's going to get turned around in a week, things do get busy. And I just wanted, as a side comment, to say, give yourself more time than you think you need, because you might go back and make changes. We might have too many orders coming through, like whatever the case might be. Just give yourself extra time, because busy season tends to slow things down. But if you're going to direct to a supplier that's also working busy season, they might turn you away altogether, especially if it's less than, let's say, 5,000, or in some cases, 25,000 boxes that you want. They'll just say no.
Well, let's talk about boxes as a branding mechanism for brands, because
Sure.
obviously there's a lot of brands besides influencer marketing, which is fantastic and a good use casage of why a brand might want to do something fun and customized and
Absolutely.
all super photo friendly. But getting something in the mail, we all get Amazon boxes some of us get on a daily basis, multiple times a day sometimes. And those brown boxes that come in, they're plain, you know what they are, but they're very, very simple. And on occasion, I've seen Amazon brand and promote a movie or a partnership. And so that there's some sort of collateral on it. But most of the time you're looking at those brown boxes. And when you're a company and you're sending just generic brown boxes, you're kind of losing the moment, aren't you?
Totally. I mean, it depends on what you want your outcome to be. If you want someone to buy your product and not to, I guess, objectify the relationship of what you want with your customer, but not to make it sound too scandalous, but like if all you're looking for is a one night stand with your customer, send them a brown box and they'll
love
take
it. One night stands, brown boxes. That's great.
Right? Like that's it. Like an unbranded box is the one night stand of marketing to your clients, because all it is, well, they bought it. Well, you had the experience with them, but that's it. It's over. Yeah. Whereas if you have something branded, you're reaching out to your customer, you're showing the ethos of what your brand is, you're trying to establish a relationship, and you want that to grow, because the most important thing about growth is retention, meaning they come back and they work with you again. So consider it a marketing expense. If I could have people listening walk away with any understanding of what we're talking about today, is you need to consider your package as a marketing spend. It's a billboard, it's your billboard, it's your in-store experience, it's your everything, right? It's all happening in that package. And guess what? It has a 100% open rate. not many things that you send to your customer will have that. So consider it as such, invest in it as such. You'll see the dividends. You'll see people actually wanting to share your product and the package that it came with. It's all part of the same experience. And I know, for years now, people say unboxing experience. Yes, that's great. But most importantly, like, what are you saying to your customer, and how are you considering this a marketing spend? The same way that you're doing it with your ads or with any other outreach material, you need to put that same amount of focus, if not more, into the package, because again, 100% hit rate.
And when we're talking about branding a box, we're not just talking about popping your logo on the front. Like the boxes we worked with you on, literally every surface had a color or a design from the bottom to the inside, and I'm pretty sure that the people who got those boxes, we did a really killer job in designing them. They were very, very cute. Those are the types of boxes someone's going to put in their closet and keep something in, because it's cute and it's something that's going to have a longer life versus just getting the box and throwing it out.
Totally. As you say that, I'm guilty of having a handful of different branded box styles that I was just a big fan of customers making. And, we like pulled one off the line. Granted, we made it ourselves. Customers who are listening, we don't pull your boxes that you pay for. We'll just use the design. And like, for example, I have like my watches and a passport in one. And it's something that's like a fun reminder of what businesses that work with us leverage their imagination to make. And if you are unbound by what you can imagine, you'll make something that you want to keep, just like you said. So that's awesome, and I'm happy to be a part of that.
What are some of the mistakes people make when they go in to work with you graphically? I'm sure there's lots of general, okay, the graphics aren't of a high enough resolution, that type of thing. But what do people kind of screw up?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Sometimes people come to us a bit early. They haven't refined their brand yet, and as a result, they do like a huge run of boxes before, let's say, ordering a sample. And I think skipping sampling is one of the biggest mistakes we see merchants and brands do. If you're able to get a sample in advance of your full run, you're going to be able to get the package in your hand. You're going to be able to experience what it's like having that specific type of branding. You could even test run a shipment, send it to yourself, send it to a friend, see how it turns out. Does it show up with scuff marks? Does it show up with anything faded? Like, should we move the design off of the corners and onto the face because it's going to get banged around a lot less? Like, what's going on? And guys, it's $20 to get like a fully branded sample, and we give you a refund when you do the full run. So it's not like this is me trying to evangelize some sort of like money-making component to our business.
You don't have a scam of $20 to make your
$20.
box.
No, and we don't make money. We lose money on samples, by the way. Even before the refund, even if it was just the sample, we keep the 20. Guys, like, operating costs of getting your sample through the door is a lot more than $20. And the only reason why we don't,
hours and time.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Like, the overhead is more expensive, but we do this as an offering for merchants to succeed, because if they, like, not to be cheesy on your success is our success, but it's real. Like, if you guys are doing well, you're only going to come back and spend more on boxes. Great. It's a very symbiotic relationship with that respect. So biggest mistake that y'all can avoid: come in, get a sample. It doesn't have to be perfect. The whole point is that it's a draft. Like, it's a rough draft. You don't, to take it back to the industry y'all are in, you don't just write something and throw it up on the screen. It's a rough draft. There are rewrites. How huge of a mistake would it be if you lived in an industry where, like, first write gets on the screen? Well, I'm in an industry where first brand gets shipped out the door, and it's sometimes insane what customers do. So, like, get it out there. Make sure that you have some sort of testing, or even if the testing is just yourself, you just have it in your hands and you're like, okay, I need to make some quick minor tweaks. Great. Like, just do that. So consider it a free sample, if anything, because you get your money back. So come try our free samples. That's my announcement on that. It's for your own good.
Is there any approach? As I mentioned before, we did every single side of that box, right? It was blue, it had logos, it had designs, it had poppy colors. Some were solid colors. It wasn't too over the top. But is there best practices for what you should be doing? Like, is at the minimum, should you just have a logo on the outside in one place?
Yeah. So depending on what your product is and depending on the discretion that you want to have on the product, or you're afraid, oh, I don't do like we sometimes folks come to us and they say, I don't do branded packaging for my product because, it gets stolen off people's porches or whatever. Porch pirates, as they call it. You can just do inside branding. It's still going to be it's still going to give the same feeling when someone comes home or opens their door and sees that package is outside. It's not a mystery to them, unless they're like me and they order 50 things off Amazon and they don't even know what arrives, and it's like Christmas every time they open boxes. I tend to be guilty of that. But they know what the product is. And from there, they open it and that journey begins because they'll see the branding on the inside. So that's one. Two, there's very common best practices of, first and foremost, of course, you should have your logo. If you can have your brand colors on there, absolutely. If you can have a tie back to your social media, even better. And one of my favorites, the thing that refuses to die, the QR code. The QR code is a great idea too, because you can have that link to a YouTube video that sends like a welcome message. It could link to reposting a tweet that gets you some sort of discount as a customer that the merchant creates in that referral code that happens through the QR. So whatever you want to do, I mean, that part, the possibilities are pretty much endless, and it's not going to be more expensive to print a QR code as it would be your logo. So why not, take the extra step? That's a fairly low lift that could make a huge difference.
Yeah, QR codes are really interesting. They came in with, a big bang, and everyone's like, what are QR codes? And then, of course, we had the QR code that floated across the screen on the Super Bowl and just blew up that whole world in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of nifty and neat, where you can do so much and you can also change what they are. So if someone happened to have too many boxes with one QR code, they can on the back end still change it. You don't have to worry about changing your packaging or your call to action or anything along those lines.
No. Yeah, exactly. And then COVID, of course, everyone had it on the menu. It was a QR code. But yeah, we just ask you to experiment. It goes back to the get a sample, experiment, see what your users say, talk to them, and then make changes accordingly.
And so is there anything that, when it comes down to sizes of boxes, or does it matter? Like, does it matter if it's a little tiny box going through the mail or a large box? Or if you design a cute box, do you need to actually put that box inside another box? Talk about not sustainable anymore.
Yeah, no, we did a certification with Amazon that had 3 fun acronyms, PFP, FFP, and SIOC. And that's frustration-free packaging, prep-free packaging, and ships in its own container, SIOC. So prep-free, meaning, let's say you ship glass mugs through Amazon, they're going to have to prep that product and put it in some sort of bubble wrap before they can send it out the door. They're not just going to send your mugs. So that's not prep-free. Whereas with us, if you had a cardboard tray that had a cavity that fit your product, that's prep-free packaging. Frustration-free packaging, the next one. That's essentially any of those hang tag plastic products that you see at the store that you take off of the hooks on the wall. You need like a scissor. You need a pair of scissors at least, if not a buzz saw to open that. That's not a frustration-free package. Whereas a box that's simple to open that we provide is easy. And then lastly, to your point, ships in its own container. Avoid having the box inside of the box. Going back to that first, prep-free, having a tray that holds the product. Let that be the substitute for the box that would go inside of a box. Have it be a tray inside of a box instead. It ships your product safely. You can even brand those trays, by the way. Like you could lift up the mug and underneath the message can say, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow morning," because it's like for a cup of coffee, for example. And following those guidelines and making sure that there's as little air as possible being shipped is something that we're huge advocates of. As a matter of fact, we have I know today we're talking more on like the arca.com, get your packaging online, but we actually have an enterprise solution that we haven't talked about yet, Stacy, that's more targeted towards like the supply chain logistics world. We sell our software into warehouses to help them ship less air. And essentially all we do is take the size of their SKU or product and benchmark that against the size package that they should ship it in, and make a recommendation of packaging assortments for that warehouse to carry, so that when they're fulfilling, meaning picking, packing, shipping merchant products out the door, it's in a package that makes sense. So I think I'm going to get a lot of listeners raise their hand when I say, how many of you have received a product in the mail that was in a package that's too big, like myself included, right?
Like giant size sometimes, like
right?
literally like a 3.5-foot box that has a tiny, tiny little thing in it, which is just insanity.
Totally. There's two reasons for that. One, for example, this product, whatever this was supposed to go in, they might have just run out of that package and they didn't get more in time. So this is going to have to go in whatever they can get their hands on at the warehouse. It's going to go in something bigger, though, obviously, because you can always put it in something bigger. You can't put it in something smaller. And as a result, shipping more air. The other reason is they're not looking at their assortment. They're not auditing it on a frequent basis, meaning how warehouses work is they'll have set sizes of boxes in stock that they just reorder and reorder and reorder and reorder. They don't really think about it. They don't think, well, what are we actually shipping? They just know these are the boxes we usually buy. Let's get some more. Whereas our software is connecting to that warehouse and constantly cycling through the SKUs or products that warehouse is shipping on behalf of merchants. And as a result, we tweak that. We adjust that assortment. We say, well, you know, you've lost Herman Miller as a customer. Herman Miller, for those of you that don't, makes furniture and chairs. Big chairs. Stop ordering those boxes. No need to ship a backpack in a huge box anymore. And if anything, that's a good example. Sometimes you might get a water bottle in a box that could have fit a chair. I mean, it's really just a matter of keeping good hygiene with respect to your supply chain, and that's our job. So we go from the merchants, the folks who want to send products to influencers, all the way up to the warehouses themselves that ship on behalf of those influencers, on behalf of those merchants, and making sure that they ship less air is all in the name of sustainability at the end of the day. And just as importantly, if not more, because you can't run a business if you don't make money, just as importantly, if not more, you're going to spend less money on shipping, because shipping a bigger box is way more expensive than a smaller one. That box is also going to be more expensive. You're going to have less room on the back of the pallet that sends all those boxes out, which means less room on the back of the truck. So your carbon footprint as a warehouse and as a merchant goes up, and your customer experience will go down if you don't take heed and caution the dreaded extra air shipping practices that a lot of warehouses and merchants can avoid. If they had potentially talked to us, or just do your own research if you don't want to have like another service or tech provider like us. Like, just make sure you have best practice, but not a lot of people do. So that's where we can help.
Well, I think, you have your Gen Alpha, your Gen Z, your, millennials who really do care about this. And so as far as your customer experience, having someone who is abhorring the fact that you have a lack of sustainability, the carbon footprint, all of those keywords that actually people are spending a lot of money trying to figure out how to align. It's very simple if you just change your box size, obviously.
Totally. Very simple. And just FYI, this is something that's only, at least from a cost perspective, it's called dimensionalizing a product. So dimensionalizing a box is what like the shipping carriers only started charging through the roof for, whereas previously it was weight in the last like 5 to 10 years. But now size, even if it's light as a feather, but it takes up a lot of space. The world's not getting any smaller, or any bigger rather. It is getting smaller. We're gonna get charged for it. So now more than ever is it important to ship less air, not just from the sustainability standpoint. You're gonna get charged. Don't do it. So it's one of the few great times that sustainability and capitalism are actually driving towards the same goal. And this is one of them. So hand in hand, we can kick ass in this department. It's kind of nice.
For consumers who have a lot of boxes, What can they
Yeah.
do with them? Like, what is the solution? If you're someone like me who has a little bit of an Amazon fanaticness to themselves, like,
Yeah.
how do you deal with all of those boxes versus just what we do is bring them into our office and then use them for a second life?
First of all, that's great. Giving them another use, repurposing. What is it? I feel like I should know this as a advocate of sustainability. Recycle, reuse, and there's like a third R. I actually don't even remember. But reuse is
repurpose.
repurpose, which is kind of like reuse, but maybe not. I was going to say
maybe.
repurpose, but they sound so similar. But repurposing, first and foremost, do that. Definitely do that, because then it's not the end of the life cycle. From there, just make sure you recycle. So avoid when branding your boxes. Try not to use any sort of varnish or polymer gloss. Use aqueous coating, which is a water-based gloss. We're getting technical now, but essentially just making sure that it can get recycled afterwards is super important. Avoiding using non-recyclable materials is super important. I know that compostable and other keywords in that arena have become very popular right now. My favorite, to be honest, is actually PCR material, post-consumer recycled content, something that's 100% recycled, meaning that it is destined to go to the landfill, unfortunately, because everything eventually does. But the good thing about PCR is that your customers can throw it away and it's not a mistake. Whereas if they used something compostable and they threw that away, that is more detrimental than them having used something that was 100% PCR and ready to go to landfill, because the carbon footprint of creating something that's post-consumer recycled is significantly lower than a fresh compostable product that doesn't get responsibly composted, right? So with boxes, just make sure that it can end up getting recycled. With bags, I would highly recommend using PCR products. And that way you're just thinking about what does somebody do when they're done with the product, and that's hopefully it gets recycled, or hopefully it's a fully recycled product that ends up in landfill, and you don't have to worry about instructing your customers what to do exactly. But if you do want to instruct your customers what to do, going back to the QR code, have it printed on your compostable material packaging that says, here's what you do with me, here are instructions on how to dispose of me. That's great too, but that requires an extra step. And if you're like most consumers, they're going to take their product and they're going to throw it away. So if you can at least make sure that it's a material that's meant to be thrown away, like PCR, then you're doing the world and the environment you're a part of the greater good for sure. And I'm a big believer in that.
Well, for all of our listeners, if anyone out there is a gardener, I came up with something that when we moved into our house, the realtor had put in grass. So it looked like we had this fantastic front yard. And within 2 weeks of moving in, that front yard was dead because it was just fresh grade, turf laid down. There was really no strong watering system or anything else in place. And so I looked into and found this something called lasagna gardening. And I don't know, Phil, if you've ever heard of lasagna gardening,
No,
but it's something
I'm
that
excited
maybe
to hear
your
about it.
favorite. Yes.
Yeah.
So I went and I found every last box I could. And what lasagna gardening is you open up all the boxes and you cover all of your grass with cardboard. And then you go and you get mulch and you put mulch on top of your cardboard. I will tell you, it kills off all of the grass so it doesn't come back up. So you don't have to worry about grass forever. We did our front yard, and this is a decade ago, actually about 9 years ago, and it became so healthy and could grow anything. Like we started growing pumpkins and had a pumpkin patch in our front yard.
Whoa.
We have all of this passion fruit in our front yard, and it's a really vibrant garden, and it's all because of cardboard, and I'm convinced of it.
Wait, that's amazing. I feel like, well, we're brainstorming during the show right now, but I would be super interested to do a blog post with you guys. Like if we could get one of our blog writers to interview you on this,
Sure.
If you're not too bashful to have a couple of
Happy to do
photos of it, and
Perfect.
we can talk about we can say what do you like. The title could literally just be along the lines of like what to do with your boxes, not what you expect, because I would not expect to do that. And then we can talk about lasagna gardening. Can we please? I'm
And
serious. Like I'm actually
No,
gonna smack my
100%, absolutely. But I think it's important for, listeners to know, like Phil just went over all these things that you don't want to have that are contaminants, right? And that was something I was concerned about. Not that I was planning on actually eating what we were putting into the earth. Turns out we did with pumpkins and the like, but I didn't want to put chemicals back into the earth. And I was cognizant at the time. And, I happened to have done a lot of Amazon shopping. So I had some very plain brown boxes that I was working with at the moment, but it really was cool. And it is, I'm sure there's other things out there that you can do also that are going to be, supportive of sustainability.
I love that. Like I think that's so great. Wow, we could. Sorry, now my head just keeps going. Like there could be a picture of a pumpkin, and there's like a word bubble coming out of it saying like I grew out of boxes. I grew out of your boxes that you threw away.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool. I really,
Your
really
next
like
step,
that.
Phil, is you need to embed seeds into your boxes, and then you can have the whole garden blooming.
Amazing. I would actually love to do that. We've been asked about that previously. Do you know the only problem with that is if there's any rain, because
I would
the
assume that
type
you'd start sprouting your boxes.
it could sprout, it'll essentially turn into mush.
Decompose.
That's the only bad part. It needs to be like dry,
Yeah.
arid. Maybe like within Arizona, we would only create those
Right.
boxes and have them ship within desert, arid climates. Whereas humidity, I live in Austin, Texas. The box will be ruined. You'll have like
It'd
a
be
pot
humid.
of
You deliver the box, it would sit outside in a moment, it would start melting, the sun would come out, it would start baking again, get hard again, moisture would come in. Yes, I could see that.
Yeah, that's the only problem. Otherwise, that's a great idea. That's awesome.
So
Cool.
Phil, how can our listeners find you? Where do they need to go?
Yeah, very easy. We have a 4-letter domain, very proud. ARKA.com. So arca.com. And for any questions, we have a chat function, but it would be great to message support at arca.com or check out our Instagram, Arca Packaging, same tag on TikTok, but arca.com, the best way to find us. Send us a message. Would love to help out.
Well, Phil, thank you so much. Are you any
Thank you.
last parting words of advice about customizing boxes?
Get a sample. Just get a sample, see how it feels, and then do your big run. Just sample first. Everyone needs a rough draft before the final show.
And don't use pixelated graphics.
Yeah, do not. Please have vector art. Vector art is what we need. Your designers, if it's not you, your designers will know exactly what we're talking about. Please submit vector art. Your boxes will be way more beautiful if you do. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. That's true.
Well, to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Marketing Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I look forward to chatting with you this next week. And until then, if you have any questions about influencer marketing, product placement, celebrity partnerships, please reach out. I'm happy to connect and have a larger conversation. Have a great one.